Let me share with you a rather useful and practical way to conceptualize burnout. And if you don't know what burnout is, it's that point where you just hit the wall. You've pushed too hard for too long, haven't rested, and you're just spent. Your nervous system is fried, and just, yeah, everything is just way too hard. That's burnout, and you can reach clinical burnout. You can reach a point of being so burnt out that you almost can't function. In the day, really, one of the things that you really need in that case is just rest, because everything's just too hard. And if you keep going, some of the pretty not ideal mental health outcomes are pretty likely if you push past that, which is really hard to do because your body is trying to shut it down because it's had enough. Yeah. Sorry, burnout. I've had a lot of experience with burnout professionally and personally because burnout's huge with ADHD and in fact really anyone neurodivergent because it's a bit harder. We have to work a bit harder just to keep up, and it's more exhausting, more draining. Not only that, we're getting all of the input and all of the stuff happening all at once, all the time, to a greater extent. So it just asks that little bit more from us just to be. Very useful way to conceptualize burnout is the idea of having an empty cup. You know, if you think about it, you've got like a little, your glass or whatever, bigger one, I guess. If it's really full, it means you've got lots of energy, lots of vitality, energy, feeling good. Yeah, wow, I've done so much stuff. My cup is feeling so full. In fact, yeah, it's just overflowing with goodness. Oh, I feel so great. Versus if my cup is kind of empty, the cup is pretty drained. I don't have much to give. My reserves are very low. You may have heard the phrase, you can't pour from an empty cup. And what that means is, when you have so little energy yourself, you don't really have much more to give. You have nothing to give. But when you have so much, the opposite is true. It's easy to do nice things for nice people when you feel fantastic yourself. It's almost automatic. So, what do we do? And why is this so important to understand? Well, if you get to that point where your cup is empty, you are burnt out, you've been pushing for too long without getting enough energy back, well, that's what you need to address first and foremost. Many people, they want to try and find strategies, or how can I eke out that little bit more productivity in this state when I really just need to rest? Or what are some ways that I can overcome all my negative thinking when I'm so burnt out? Well, really, what you should do is just stop being burnt out. I don't mean to oversimplify that in any condescending way. It's a very important thing, but that is the work, or should be, to focus on recovering from burnout first. Because then a lot of the other things you don't need to worry about. And in that case, we need to think a lot about the world in terms of energy in, energy out, that exchange. Because if I'm constantly giving, and I have nothing left for myself. Often we can get into people-pleasing territory. And why might we people please? Well, we're trying to please others. We're trying to get them to like us, to say, wow, Jack, you're so wonderful. That's so great. You're so awesome. And the reason we do that is we're hoping that will make us feel good. It'll give us that little bit of energy that we so desperately need. The problem is it's a false economy, because often in order to get this tiny little bit of gratitude and appreciation back, we might have to give so much more. So the net gain, whatever, is, it's not, it's a net loss. You might get a little bit of, oh, you're so great, back, which feels a little bit good, but to get it, you might have had to do so much, and it's just drained you more. That's what we might people please. And what's really important to understand too is what happens to us when our energy is quite low. When we are depleted, when our cup is empty, everything's harder. We're more defeated, everything's more draining. We're more likely to snap at others. We're more likely to take things personally. And basically what happens is when we don't have much energy, we tend to get a lot more defensive with what's left, and it's just more tiring. It's more costly to do things when we feel so drained. Versus the opposite, when you have such little energy, you have to try so hard to get anything done. And because it costs so much, you don't do as good jobs, it doesn't feel as rewarding, and it creates that feedback loop. On the other hand, if you have that so much energy, everything you do, you crush it, you're so amazing, you do a great job, everyone around you, they feel so good for being part of it. You feel good, you get good results, you feel better, and you get more energy in return. Feedback loop there as well. These are some useful things that come from this concept, or this model, I suppose, for conceptualizing burnout. But at the end of the day, really what you need to do is rest. And so if we're having energy out, that means we're expending, we're doing. We need to do to counteract that is to spend a lot more time resting, a lot more time being, and really not doing anything. Scrolling on your phone, that's not recovering. You need to be getting massages or walking around in nature, or having a spa or a bath, and just sleeping and resting, and not watching tons of stimulating things because you're trying to just feel a little bit of something. No, just slow it down, let your body heal. You have this incredible, wonderful body. It's so good at healing. When you give it the time, the space, and what it needs to be able to do so. Trust that beautiful body of yours, let it heal. Let it rest, let it recharge. And as your cup begins to fill up once more, suddenly all these other things start to be easier. Suddenly you don't need the strategies for how do I be productive when I'm burnt out. You don't need to. You don't feel as drained. Things are just easier. You don't snap at people as much because you're not feeling as on edge. The world isn't as much of a threat anymore. So it's easier to stay in a more positive state. So step one, often, is to just recover from that burnout, and you recover by resting and replenishing. Try it out. You may need it a little bit more than you might think. And if you like that, like and subscribe, because that brings us to the end of today's video. More though, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Any comments, anything you'd like to share or ask or add, drop it in the comments. I do read them all. Love to hear your thoughts. And love to answer any questions if I could. Thank you for your time. See you in the next video.